Domestic violence in Guyana.
Counter-trafficking in Tobago.
And who's your ideal partner?
From across the Caribbean.
This is LiveUp The Show. Hey everyone, it's great to be here with you. You know, Alex, I was thinking, in every episode of Live Up, what we're really actually focusing on, is social justice, you think?
Oh yes, it is. Social justice issues. Human trafficking is a human rights issue. So is stigma and discrimination against anyone perceived to be different in any way. Let's face it, we're all different. We just fall into different groups, and some of these groups can be very intolerant of others.
Exactly. Well, acceptance needs to start in the home from an early age as well, because children learn what they live and they live what they learn from us, the adults, right? It's right there in the Bible. Judge not that ye be not judged. Those are the words. We all need to work towards a better life for everyone. And that means realizing that even when they say nothing, children are watching and copying everything we do. We need to step up so that what they see is ideally what we want them to see. No judgment, just justice.
Well, exactly. I mean, gender violence is definitely a social injustice.
Yeah.
It's not only a question of empowering women, because men have to be empowered too. They need to feel comfortable enough in their masculinity that they don't have to prove it with every willing woman or by abusing someone vulnerable, either emotionally or physically. Many men suffer anguish and guilt when faced with results of their lack of control, right? And they need to be given the tools to find that control before they strike, and to be allowed to show and discuss their emotions with maturity. You know, I think we have to look at how we socialize our boys.
I totally agree with you, Alex. You know, domestic violence is a huge problem, and they're actually trying to cope with this in Guyana, and it's hoped that a dramatic approach being made by one creative group can actually make a difference. Handel Duncan tells us more.
Welcome to Morondoi. To all intents and purposes, everything seems to be pretty okay.
Morondoi is a local radio serial drama which initially started out in October of 2006 with specific emphasis on promoting behavioral change aimed at reducing the spread of HIV and improving the quality of life of persons living with HIV and AIDS, among others. But recently, that focus has shifted. Former radio broadcaster and announcer with the Guyana Broadcasting Corporation, Margaret Lawrence, is the executive director of Morondoi Inc.
The project funded by PEPFAR ended at the end of December 2010. But the unique thing about the March strategy, which is an edutainment strategy, education and entertainment combined, is that it can be applied to all situations, sectors in the society. So we sought to apply them to other areas where we thought that we needed behavior change. So right now we're looking at gender-based violence.
The group uses a strategy called March. This is a combating technique which has proven its worth.
What we seek to do is to literally model characters that represent everyday people.
In putting together an episode on gender-based violence, the production team often gets down to a study geared at capturing a well-informed production.
We train our writers, we have workshops and so forth, so we expose them to all the sides of gender-based violence. Then all that data is collected and put into what we call a data summary grid. And that data summary grid is broken down. We find negative characters, the positive characters, the factors that mitigate for and against change and so forth. So it's a huge research document that you come up with.
Gender-based violence, including sexual violence, occurs in all communities in Guyana. It's in your neighborhood. It is the hidden crime which is kept as a secret. Lame excuses and covering up only help the abuser.
Ron Robinson is a production manager, and according to him, one thing he does not do is to shy away from reality.
It's based actually on the reality of our society. And in Guyana, like many other places, domestic violence has been on the increase for a long time. And we needed to say something very strong about it.
But getting the messages across the borders are imperative for the group, and as Darwin Humphrey, Project Operations Manager, explains, looking at an area such as gender-based violence and wanting to make a difference can impact you also.
Not only is it personal, but when you actually go in the field and you see how it impacts the lives of men, women, even children, You know, it's something that really has an indirect and sometimes direct impact on your own psyche.
Gender-based violence has struck a chord in the lives of almost every member of the team, but how have they been able to channel those experiences towards a positive direction?
So I've grown up around family members who were very abusive, and so that kind of impacted, you know, what I put in the storyline.
Sometimes when you're writing, it takes you to an emotional place, because for me personally, when I write, I empathize with my characters.
There is no argument that gender-based violence affects women and girls primarily, since they are oftentimes the most vulnerable in society. It has become the custom or linked to cultural beliefs.
Growing up, I witnessed a lot of domestic violence and drug abuse and alcohol abuse. And while I was growing up, I think it was norm.
I think sometimes people are violent and, they're abusive and they don't understand how it affects the person they're abusing or their extended family members. But I think our goal is to help them to show them that, this is the way the violence affect the people around them. And so, they can really feel and identify characters. And I think we've succeeded with that.
Despite the Domestic Violence Act of 1996, which gives victims legal protection from their abusers, domestic violence is still rampant in Guyana. Nevertheless, Murundoy plans to continue doing its work on the airwaves.
It's a really, really, really sickening thing to just open the papers and see another woman dead by the hands of her husband. Or, well, you hardly see the men going to the station to complain, but those that do it are brave enough.
You more bleeding?
Oh, me the handle in this number. Oh, that's me kill myself.
No, man, no.
Handel Duncan, HBTV Channel 9 Guyana, for LiveUp The Show.
Well done, Murundoy. Well, we've seen that media can affect behavior in a negative way, so it should be equally powerful when promoting the positive.
And that's why we're here. Let us always salute the 112 Caribbean radio and TV media houses who represent media making a positive difference.
Exactly. When we come back, we discover what some of you are looking for in a partner. Is it looks, money, position? What's important to you?
Driving around on the public road fast is a hazard. Drinking and unprotected sex is just another example of careless and irresponsible behavior. I think it's really important for young people to try and actually be engaged in what is smart and what is right for first yourself and then others. That mutual respect needs to be nurtured. So from the circle, love, protect, and respect. Live up.
Live up. Shout, live up.
We asked, who's your ideal partner? This is what you said.
Faithfulness is key. I think trust as well, because if you don't have any trust, then how can you move forward in a relationship? Someone that I can be me with, because I'm told I'm weird. I'm very quirky and I have a very bubbly personality. I'm very energetic. So someone that I can be me with, and someone that I can fully understand and who understands me as well, and who would take me for all I am. That's important for me.
You can appreciate someone that is totally honest with you. That's what I like in person. When you're honest, you don't cut back and be like, well. But you have to appreciate honesty to the fullest. Because people today aren't really honest with you on most things. They tend to hide in trust and things. But when you're honest, you have a firm foundation for a relationship.
It's all about personality, looks a tad bit, but really on what's on the inside and what the person believes in, their personal goals, ambitions, stuff like that. Faithfulness is very important, because if you're not faithful to me, you're not going to be faithful to the family, our commitment, our marriage, nothing.
Faithfulness and personality, especially faithfulness, because nobody wants to be cheated on us,
I just look for someone who is fun, because like myself, I love to laugh, so I look for someone who can make me laugh. I look for someone, who is honest, because at the end of the day, you want someone who's honest, straight up with you, frank,
I think that you should be faithful in a relationship, loyal, trustworthy, and you should love your partner.
I mean, as a young person, yes, looks are extremely important. And personally, I have my basic preference, but I do think that we can find beauty in almost any person, so I try to let those kind of things take a back burner. In a partner, I like to think about a union that will produce children. And when I think about that, I think about looking for a woman who is very virtuous, a woman with strong moral values. And especially if I have a daughter, I want some person that could be a mentor and a role model, that they wouldn't have to look outside of the union for something like that. I also would like some person who is very giving and some person who will value my opinions as I value theirs.
You know, it's one thing when you're deciding on your ideal partner, but once love gets involved, you just never know.
Yeah, there are also hidden dangers out there, right? Social media makes it so easy for predators to identify those who are lonely, vulnerable in some way. The internet has been identified in the United States as the #1 platform that pimps, traffickers, and johns currently use for buying and selling women and children for sex. But internet connectivity links us around the world instantly, right? So there's no sense thinking it's only happening in the US. We have to wake up to this in the Caribbean. People are only now becoming aware of the hidden world of human trafficking, as Omadara Mills finds out in Tobago.
You read of a well-paying job that you dream of in another country. You are interviewed and get the job. But when you get to the country, all your travel documents are taken away. You are threatened and coerced into sexual acts, forced labor, or domestic servitude. That's just one simple anecdote of the complex phenomenon of human trafficking, a global network that's $1 billion industry. And Tobago, an island in the southern end of the Caribbean region, is not left out of the enslavement of men, women, and children. Since the proclamation of the human trafficking laws in Trinidad and Tobago in 2013, the counter-trafficking unit has had 4 cases before the court to date, with one of those cases being from Tobago. But do Tobagonians know what is taking place in their communities?
They might have like domestic workers, in the sex trade. So it's possible. But it's not really a big thing per se.
Well, I'm not sure if it's taking place in Tobago because I haven't heard any reports of people going missing or anything to that effect. But it is possible that it could be taking place in Tobago.
Since 2007, to now, we've had about 42 cases of human trafficking. That's a high number for Trinidad and Tobago. And last year alone, following the proclamation of the legislation and the establishment of the counter-trafficking unit, we have identified 12 victims of human trafficking.
A report in the national newspapers indicated that in 2013, 2 female Latin American nationals under 25 years old were victims in Tobago. And even with these numbers, information on other cases are unreported.
Prior to that, there were some cases of Filipino nationals being trafficked to Tobago. So we did have one reported case of child trafficking in Tobago. That is still under investigation.
The survivors are given housing, counseling, and medical attention by the counter-trafficking unit in Trinidad. And with the chances of the survivors contracting sexually transmitted diseases such as HIV, testing is also a part of the rehabilitation process.
We go to the DMO first. He would then refer us to the institution to do the HIV testing and the other tests, especially for the women, find out if they're pregnant, for example, if they have any other kind of sexually transmitted diseases, and then we will take it from there.
Facilities are lacking in Tobago, so the unit is working with the Tobago House of Assembly to set up services on the island.
We had a workshop in Tobago, the first workshop with the Division of Health and Social Services, where we had persons from gender, from social services, probation officers, community police and other police officers at the workshop. And the discussion started about what can we do, what are the procedures we can put in place for the future if we have victims in Tobago. And it starts with identifying a safe place for them to stay. Young people are, especially now, particularly vulnerable to trafficking with the advent of social media. Facebook. We want to target the young people. We've done some of it, a couple schools in Trinidad where we spoke to young people, sixth formers, and we want to do that in Tobago as well.
And NGOs such as Sir Optimus International Scarborough have seen the importance of educating the public about human trafficking. That's why they did a seminar in 2012.
We were not aware of the extent of this particular scourge, and that forum highlighted some of the things that we didn't know about. The statistics were given, how many numbers of people, even in Trinidad and Tobago, and there were cases of trafficking from Tobago.
Besides public awareness, there are measures in place to punish those found trafficking persons.
They could be fined $350,000 or $500,000 and up to 20 years of imprisonment, according to the Trafficking in Persons Act 14 of 2011, which was proclaimed on the 2nd of January 2013.
Tobagonians are being encouraged to educate themselves, spot the signs, and report any suspicious incidents to the police or the counter-trafficking unit. Always remember that everyone has the rights to love, protection, and respect. From the clean, green, safe, and serene island of Tobago, I'm Omadara Mills of the Department of Information, THA, reporting for LiveUp The Show.
It's really good to see that there are measures in place to punish those found trafficking. But strange though that the act was only proclaimed in January of 2013. Well, I guess better late than never, right?
Yeah, and the more people know and understand about these social issues, the easier it will be to combat them. When Vincent Lane heard the story of a young man with HIV, he was moved to write and record It's Not My Fault, truly a song from the heart, and we'll share that with you next.
Part of living is going out and making good informed decisions. This is the most powerful defense in my mind of our generation. We have a serious problem with AIDS, we have a serious problem with a lot of things that young people are dealing with. But we have to be the one that create the social movement that change it. We have to be the change agent we're looking for. Remember, live up, love, protect, respect.
Live up, shout, live up, shout.
It's not my fault, oh, I'm innocent. I'm positive, but it's not my fault.
So Vincent, tell us the story. How did you come to know of this young man and why did he inspire you?
I was walking along White Park Road and this youngster just crossed the road and he said to me very politely, "Can you buy me something to eat? I haven't had anything to eat since yesterday." When I looked at him, I really realized that he was really hungry because his lip was cracked. So I shoved my hand in the pocket to take out $5 to give him. A lady came up the same time and she said to me, "You know what you're doing? Where you don't belong, where you going before you don't get what you want." And he started to cry. And he said, "I know what I got, but you don't know what you got." And then he started to walk away, so I hold him and I tell him wait for the money. So when I pushed my hand back in the pocket to give him then $7, a Rasta guy came down the road the same time. And he said, "Big man, what he got? They ain't no cure for where you don't belong, where you going." So he started to cry again. And he said to me, "It's not my fault. My mother died with AIDS. And my stepfather died by him. Not sure if he had AIDS." And with each time I speak about it, bring tears to my eyes. So from then, I've been connected.
And before that, had you known anyone with HIV?
No. Since then, I went to the dentist. I was getting a root canal done. And a guy, when I came out to the dentist's office, he was outside the door sitting down on a bucket, a 5-gallon pail with a washcloth in his hand. He said, "Big man, I can wash your car for you for nothing." I said, "Well, I ain't got any money." He said, "I can do it for you for nothing." I said, "Why?" He said, "You was kind to my friend over in White Park Road." I said, "Oh?" He said, "Well, we suffer from the same thing." And I tried to carry on a conversation, but he just walked away because he didn't want to entertain the thought. But when I drove away from there, all I was hearing, "It's not my fault." So this is how the song come, it's not my fault, oh, I'm innocent. I'm positive, but it's not my fault.
And are you going to use now your songs going forward to give a voice to the voiceless?
Of course. I was not as fortunate as a lot of people. My father, I never had a father around. It was just my mother, and because of things that I won't go into on camera, you know, I just want to be who I am. I recorded with Airborne Studios, and he said to me, you know, you got thousands of songs in you, and there's several things that you can write upon to inspire people.
Well, you're a great inspiration to many people and must have been a real comfort on that day, feeling lonely and vulnerable and without anyone. So thank you.
Thank you very much. Really appreciate it.
It's not my fault, oh, I'm innocent. I'm positive, but it's not my fault.
What a cool guy, right? Well, Live Up has always been a leader in how we select champions and salute people on new frontiers. This next story will demonstrate that very powerfully. A couple of years ago, before her Oscar-winning role in 12 Years a Slave, Lupita Nyong'o was interviewed by guess who? Live Up. Our then host, Mitzi Allen, talked to this stunningly articulate, talented young Yale graduate who has just been named People's 2014 Most Beautiful Woman in the World about her part in the Kenyan TV series Sugar, which has already been televised across the region by our broadcasters.
Can you use that and pass me yours?
It's being called a drama that would make Sex and the City look like Sesame Street. New research shows that Sugar, a hard-hitting TV drama series that is aimed at exposing the reckless sex lives of young Kenyans, has altered young people's thinking and behavior as it relates to sex and HIV/AIDS. Filmed in Nairobi, Sugar is written and produced by Kenyans and distributed by MTV. It's all part of the pioneering multimedia Ignite campaign. Similar pilot programs were also produced in Zambia and Trinidad. It's funded by the U.S. President's Program for HIV. UNICEF provided technical support. With funding from the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, a Johns Hopkins study revealed after watching the series, young Kenyan audiences were more likely to take an HIV test. The scripted drama was designed to relate to the audience in a real and creative way. The lead actress thinks it hits the mark.
What Sugar does is that it addresses these topics from a young perspective. It's young people teaching and learning from young people, and I think that's really important in this day and age. We're so used to the very prescriptive kind of narrative storytelling, and Sugar is a move away from that because it's young people teaching young people. And the topics like multiple concurrent partners, using condoms, and getting rid of stigma are really important because we do live with HIV and AIDS. All my feedback was mainly from the internet, through Facebook and email and stuff like that. One person emailed me and Facebooked me and said, you know, thank you so much for playing that role. I have an older boyfriend that I've been seeing, and I'm going to leave him now because he was in another relationship, and I'm going to get tested. So that's just one example of how people have responded to Sugar. It's been very tangible, and they relate with these characters. They refer to me as Ayira, which is something you have to get used to. But yeah, so it's obviously been very effective.
Dr. Donner Baird, a member of the Coalition for the Elimination of AIDS-Related Stigma, which is based in Washington, D.C., says the approach to reaching young people in the Caribbean, in particular Trinidad, must be customized.
Well, I think in Trinidad and Tobago, you have a pretty literate group. They're very knowledgeable about HIV and AIDS. That basic information is there. What you have then now is to introduce to them or to engage them in a different dialogue. I don't think you'd find that group necessarily sitting looking at TV. I was there several months back, and what I had some of the youth say to me is, we want the real stories. We don't want just another show or just people coming to talk to us and lecture us pretty much. We want people with their stories, coming to tell us their stories and tell us their experiences.
I'm Mitzi Allen for Live Up The Show.
She's incredible. She writes, produces, and directs, and is a real natural live-up champion.
Yes, she has the power of education behind her. Listen, if you're still at school, make the most of it. You won't be sorry.
And those of you out there who can't find a job, put your social media skills to work. IT is a continually growing employment sector and a great place for entrepreneurs. Poverty creates problems, but prosperity creates independence.
And we should all live up.
Love.
Protect.
Respect.
Ow, ow. Ow! Oh!
Well, we've already seen that media can affect behavior in a negative way.
Yeah.
So it should be able, equally powerful, it should be equally powerful. Ready?
If you're still at school, sorry. You know, Alex, it's one thing when you're deciding on your ideal partner. But once love once. So, you're so fluffy!